Hello again, friends. It's Mike. Happy New Year. It's 2024. And this podcast is going to be a Tuesday, a slightly more brief podcast. But I want to talk about 2024 and looking forward a little bit. Here we go. Hello again, friends and fellow truth seekers. Mike Nicholas here with another episode of the Soul Unleashed podcast, where it's my goal to help you with questions you might have regarding the awakening of your soul, and particularly to help other left brain types, like I think I am, to ask the right questions in our search for deeper meaning to life. And ultimately, I want to help you unleash your soul from limiting beliefs and smothering paradigms. So let's get started with today's adventure. As I mentioned briefly at the outset there, it's a new year. It's 2024. So happy New Year, everybody. And this podcast is a little bit about reflection, but also about looking forward. I was thinking about what do I want to do? What do you want to do in terms of setting any type of New Year's resolutions from a spiritual perspective? A lot of us have different New Year's resolutions. First of all, I'm not a really big person about New Year's resolutions. I'm constantly trying to improve myself, not just on January 1st. And so throughout the year, I'm trying to do different things, and with more or less some success with some, less success with others. But I do tend to be more reflective around this time of year, like many of us, and think about what I accomplished in the previous year and what I want to get done the next year. A lot of times it has to do with our physical goals, work out more, lose weight, get out of the house more, maybe get involved in more things, take guitar lessons, get better at that. Those things are all wonderful. And I thought, what do I want to do, though, in terms of spiritual goals? What would you want to do in terms of your own personal spiritual goals? I remember, a long time ago, one of the goals I set at the New Year was I want to go to Mass every day. I want to be one of those people that went to Mass every day. And that obviously met with limited success because I don't do that anymore. But I did go for about a month every day to early Mass, 6 o'clock in the morning. It was actually 6:15 at our church. And, that was a very interesting experience. It really caused some cool things to happen. I hadn't gotten to the point yet, though, where I was experiencing this Soul Unleashed process where I was looking beyond my Catholic faith. At that point, I was totally on board with being Catholic, and there was a lot of benefit to that, to going to Mass. I understood a little bit more about the organization of the Bible, how the Gospels worked. I read a little bit more about the Bible during that time, and it came to a better appreciation of the Mass and kind of the spiritual part of having a spiritual practice every day. Now, many of us have a spiritual practice every day. I do now, but I don't go to Mass every day. But that's the kind of spiritual thing that, maybe some people set. I just want to go through kind of what I was thinking of for this year, and maybe you can relate to some of this. That one of the main things I want to do this year is I want to meditate more. So no matter who I talk to, no matter who I read, who I study, what conferences I go to, it's always the same advice. You've got to find a way to come up with a daily practice of meditation or mindfulness that will enhance, the inner peace that you have, and also increase your self-awareness. For me, my period is doing this before I go to bed at night. Now, for those of you that know what's going on with me personally, my wife is still hospitalized, so I live by myself, so I can do pretty much whatever, and I go to bed very late now. For some reason, that tends to be the time I get stuff done, is late at night. But there are other people, most of all the successful people and entrepreneurs and all the hotshots that have written wonderful books. Usually they talk about getting up at 3 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, and doing your meditation and exercise at that time. I think that's wonderful. More power to you. If you can do that, I've tried to do that. I just, for some reason, I'm a night owl type of person. So however you do it, I think spending some time meditating. Now, you don't have to shave your head, and put on a sheet and sit in the middle of the room or whatever. You can do this simply by stilling yourself. And for me, I turn on some type of white noise or low music. And there's different practices that I've come to use I went to a class at Mind Valley where they taught a specific way to meditate. But I do different things depending upon, I don't know, depending upon whatever. I just do different things sometimes. So I sometimes I follow this guided meditation that I'll listen to. Sometimes I'll just close my eyes and talk and ask for spirit to talk to me. Many times I will record what I'm hearing in terms of feedback that I get. That's another cool thing about meditation, right? It's not just closing your eyes and humming or whatever. It can be you just talking to spirit. And I've come to believe that it can be a two-way communication thing. I have a journal that I keep. I don't do this every day. I wish I did. That's part of one of my resolutions is to do that more routinely. But to sit and just be still and listen and ask for guidance. And I don't try and force it. I just close my eyes and listen. And thoughts come to me. And most of them are good and helpful. And some of them I write down. So that's one thing I hope to do in the new year is to increase my daily meditation and mindfulness practice. The second thing I want to do is I want to explore different spiritual traditions. So I want to read the Bible more. I mentioned in an earlier podcast that I had a discussion over Christmas Eve dinner with some relatives, and I was really surprised to find out that they were reading the Bible just out of curiosity, really. But we had a discussion for about an hour about the Old Testament, and I think the Old Testament and the Bible is one document, one important resource to read. Now, years ago, before the spiritual thing happened to me, I would have thought it was the only thing. And I've met many people and interviewed people on this podcast that believe that, they take the Bible literally. It is the Word of God. It is the only Word of God. It is the only path to salvation. I don't subscribe to that belief anymore. I believe the Bible is important, that it has important lessons, and I love reading the Bible. Now, I can't claim, like some of my friends do, to have read it, 5 or 6 times through. I don't think I've read it once all the way through in order. So my goal for this year, and whatever your goal might be, but is to pick a specific part or section of the Bible. Someone recommended to me to read the book of Daniel. So my goal is to read the book of Daniel. I want to do that by the end of January, and maybe that'll lead me to other books. Usually when I get started with the Old Testament, I'll start reading, and I'm like, holy crap, I didn't know this was in here. And all those people got wiped out by whatever. And so I'll keep reading only because I get into the story. And that's the good part. The New Testament I know pretty well because I heard all the time growing up. But still I learned some things listening to the New Testament. I just hear it differently. Just like anything you listen to for the second or third time, you get stuff out of it that you didn't get the first time. So that's the second thing. I want to explore different spiritual traditions. In terms of what I want to read, there's a couple things. I'd like to take a look at the I don't know if I could pronounce it right, Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita. It's a Hindu. Forgive me, please. I'm sorry. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's the Hindu book, and I've seen it before. I had never really taken the time to read it. Again, it was recommended to me to read chapters 2 and 6, and so I'm going to look at that. And then I also want to look at the Quran, something I've seen pieces of but never read. And again, there's specific parts of the Quran that are supposed to be good to read, and I want to read those. So the Bible first, and then I want to look at the Hindu book and the Quran. That's the second thing, exploring some different spiritual traditions. Journaling is important. I mentioned to you just a little bit earlier that I'd use journaling when I meditate. So I think journaling is very helpful, and I plan to do a little bit more of that. And I also want to practice gratitude a little bit more. So the way I do that is when I walk. I try to exercise, and I walk. I don't walk as much as I want to, but I every other day or so I'll go for a 1 or 2 mile walk, and I try and spend a lot of the time just repeating to myself things that I'm grateful for. And, when I first did that the first time, I think I walked like 3 miles the first time. Thought, after another 100 yards, I'm going to be out of stuff to be grateful for. But it just kept going on and on and on as I started thinking about things that I'm grateful for, little things, big things. It lasted a long time and ended up being quite, it filled the whole walk. So those are just some of the things I'd recommend, when you're thinking about what you might do. I have a whole list that I kind of put together, but those 4 things I'm going to focus on: meditation, exploring different spiritual traditions, journaling more, and practicing gratitude. Some other things that I've read that might be, interesting to you to do if you're looking at doing things is maybe to practice yoga or Tai Chi. The act of moving physically offers spiritual meditative benefits. Maybe attending spiritual gatherings or discussions. I signed up to attend an online class actually about the early church fathers because I'm interested in where the books of the Bible came from and who made those decisions and who decided what would be in the Bible and what will not be in the Bible. And so there's an organization, it's called the ICC. One of the C's is Catholic, but I can't remember what the rest of it is. Anyway, that group offers a training course, an online training course, and I have signed up to do that. Just trying to see what it's called here. It's called the Institute of Catholic Culture, ICC. And the course they're doing is called the Patristics 101 about the early church fathers. Anyway, I'll talk about that more probably as I learn things. Another thing that is also kind of recommended is maybe detoxifying from technology, spending less time on social media. I find that beneficial for me. I don't know what you guys think if you're listening to this, but if I can disconnect from X for a while, I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook. I'm not an anti-Facebook person because honestly, that is the main avenue that I know what's going on with my family. I have a very large extended family. Many of them share stuff on Facebook, so I'm not a Facebook critic. I think Facebook is important if you use properly, and I don't spend forever on there. I stay away from try to stay away from the reels or the short videos or whatever. But X is, I go there for news a lot of times. You're wrapped around the axle. So one of the things you might consider doing is detoxifying from technology and trying to spend a little less time on social media. And one of the last things is forgiving and letting go. If you've been hurt or wrong, it's helpful. It's important to be able to forgive. And I don't know if the grievances ever go away or the pain ever goes away, but you free yourself by not being tied to the anger or the hate that's associated with whatever occurred to you. And lastly, I just want to mention to you that there are a number of things throughout the year. I try to interview people for my podcast that I think would be helpful for you that listen. And there's a few people this year that I did podcasts with that you might want to just go back and listen to. One of them was just recently, Brandy Van. It's episode 139. You just go to my website, MikeNicholas.com. There's a page with all my episodes on it. And 139, Brandy is a spiritual medium, but more importantly, what she does is she teaches people. It helps them to develop their gifts. So if you think you've got spiritual gifts that you want to explore, check out episode 139. There's another episode, 115. It's by Ange de Lumiere. Ange lives in England right now, but Ange is someone who works with intuition and helps people develop their intuition. She works with a lot of business people, but my discussion with her, my interview with her was fascinating. Another interesting one was Dr. Laura May. She's a MD, and she works with medicine basically, but energy healing. And she talks about how she had to make that change in her career from helping people as an MD to working with energy healing. And that was really interesting. That's episode 124. I've got another episode coming up this week, I think, with a group called Prodigy Healing. And they offer energy healing remotely, where they help you understand, diagnose, and work with specific physical ailments. That doesn't have a number yet. I think it's going to be maybe 141 by the time it comes out. Another interesting, what I did a little while ago was episode 104 with a lady named Jackie Hilbrick. Jackie is a psychic medium, and I thought psychic mediums were Looney Tunes, but Jackie was very interesting, and she has ways that she can help you. Another fascinating lady was Tammy Demirza. She was relatively recently. I did her episode 134 is Tammy. And Tammy is a spiritual alchemist is how she describes herself. But it's about changing and understanding. She's kind of a medium. I did a session with Tammy because I want to know what it works like. It was fascinating for me, enlightening for me. She was spot on in terms of things that she was getting in terms of challenges that I had or roadblocks that I had, and she was terrific. Another exciting one that I did was with a long distance runner, Brian Ellis. He deals with ultra performance training. That was episode 110, and Brian trains for crazy long runs. I don't know, 100-mile runs. He's run some really strange places, incredible races all over the world. And Brian talks about what it takes to train for that, but also to train your body and your mind for those kind of things. And let's see, just one more I'd mention is episode 112 with a young lady named Kaylee Kinkella. And she talks about the quantum field and quantum energy and how she uses quantum energy to understand and help people heal. And episode 107 is another lady that kind of deals with the same thing, Nicole Starbuck. And Nicole is a psychic empath, and she also does training and sessions for people. So those are some of the folks that I've interviewed in the past year, 2023. I'm looking forward to more interviews to share with you in 2024 and helping you maybe, when I interview these folks, I do it for the point. It's fascinating to me because I want to understand these things because as I've mentioned to you, I used to think these things were crazy, but I want to present them to you so that you can listen and decide. And maybe I don't make anything off of this. There's no type of kickback that I get. I just do it because I want to share them with you, and maybe it's something you'd be interested in. So that's it. I'm looking forward to 2024. I'm excited about 2024. I'm excited about my wife maybe getting back to where she's able to get out of the hospital sometime this year. And I look forward to continuing to bring you podcasts like this. And I thank you for listening. Bye-bye.